Hi, it's Sandy Parker and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to be making the case that our drawers are going to fit into and hopefully put the whole thing together. I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, first thing I want to make is I want to make the covered bottom and top for my drawers. This is going to be what they both will look like, but this is the top and I'm going to show you the bottom. They're 8 inches by 8 inches, the cardboard, and I cut my paper, and this is again paper that I got from Joann's. It's from American Craft. I think it's called The Color of Memories. I might be wrong about that, but that's what it says there. And it was the individual papers that you get at Joann's. And the other paper, well, I think I was making that up. Apparently all American Crafts say The Color of Memories, whatever. So the numbers, I guess, is what we're going to go with. The flowers are 320394, and the blue leafed paper is 359981. Both were on clearance. Well, the blue was not on clearance. I got it when they had the 10 for $1, or 10 for $2, excuse me. And what I did was I cut it down to 10 inches by 10 inches square. And as I said, my cardboard is 8 inches. I'm using Beacon 3-in-1 glue because it will make your project sturdier. When it dries, it becomes kind of hard. And that helps you with things like this to make sure that your cardboard is, mine is very heavy cardboard, but if your cardboard is kind of flimsy, if you use like the back of paper pads for things like this, this glue will help you to make it sturdier. You know, makes the cardboard sturdier. I don't need help with that on this because I'm using some heavy duty cardboard. Again, this is 8 inches by 8 inches, and I thought I would just show you how you cut this down to make it work. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but the way I've always done it, I'm making sure that my paper is well adhered to the back. Here's the way I've always trimmed mine out so my corners are okay. I start on an angle and then I cut, hopefully you can see this, I cut like this. And I cut almost like a fan shape, a wonky fan shape, but a fan shape. I'm gonna do this really quick so you can see the important part. So I cut my wonky shape, and then you're gonna put your glue on. I really put a nice dollop of glue along that edge. I like to do 2 sides at once, and then I kind of do like a U, curly Q kind of U shape, and then I make sure that the top, the edge that's the furthest away from it, the uncut edge, I make sure that that is got a good amount of glue on that as well, because you want to make sure that that edge is nice and gluey. That's a word. Maybe it's not. I'll tell you this. What you want to do with this paper, if you have paper that is a thicker paper, you want to score, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. I want to do it on the side that I didn't put glue on because I forgot to show you this. I don't have to do this to mine because my paper is very lightweight. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but unfortunately that's just the way I rolled on this. I want to make sure that I push my edges up, hold them down, and I'm going to show you once we get this third part laying down properly. I'm pulling it as tight as I can too, because you want to make sure that that crease is nice and straight. Okay, so here's what you would do if you had thicker paper. You're going to get a pokey tool, or I'm using a knitting needle just to show you this. You're just going to lightly score right up to that cardboard, like that. That will help you to get a good edge so that when you do bend it over, it's it's ready to go. And if you have a thicker paper, the papers I use to to make my hinges with for the inside of my box, that was really thick cardstock, and it really wasn't easy making those hinges lay down. Whereas this paper is really easy to lay down because of the thickness of it. If you didn't have that crease, what I would recommend you doing is just doing this little bend with your thumb, like right against that cardboard. But since you scored it, you shouldn't have to do that. And because I made those little weird fan shapes, my corners are nice and they're clean and they're straight. Let me show you where I stand at this point. I made my shelves, and I'll give you the measurements for these. You're not going to have to watch me do this because it would be painful if you did have to watch me do this. The way this is set up, this front edge is the part that is going to show. That's the front of our project. And this is 7 9/16. From front to back, it's 7 5/8. I made it a little bit longer front to back because I wanted to make sure that if I had a drawer that was a little bit off in my measurements, that it would be no problem to, shove it in a little bit more. That's why I gave it a little bit more room in the back. Then I made 16. I made 16 of these hinges. These were 1.5 inches by 7 5/8. And then what I did is I scored it in half at 3/4 of 1 inch, and then I glued them down. I don't know if you can see, I glued it right up to the edge. I did cover these shelves with paper as well, but only on one side because this is the side that will face up. And so here's how it's going to attach to the side of my box. These hinges are going to make it adhere on both sides. And then I wasn't sure how I would make that work with having it attached to the back. As much as I want it to attach to the back of the box, I'm not sure how to do that because when I stick my hand in there to glue these sides down, how am I going to be able to glue the back down too? That was my thought process. And I might at some point have to go back in and fix that, but I'm hoping that I have enough hinges to make this work. I used my Distress ink in chipped sapphire, and I went around the front and the back of my cardboard. Well, I actually wrapped the whole cardboard piece just like I did with the top and the bottom. I did that on each one of the shelves. And then because my paper I thought was darker from that's on my boxes, I made the front and back lips that dark. I just used Distress ink in chipped sapphire and went across the front like that, and then did the same on the back. And that way I thought it would match my box better. That's just my own thinking on that. Then I did that with 4 of them, so that's why you'll need 16 of these flaps, because you'll need 4 for each one of your shelves. And then I finished off the bottom of my drawers by putting the same paper on the bottom. You won't see that unless you flip the drawers open, which I'm hoping you won't. If I didn't say this already, what I'm going to be doing with these boxes is I'm going to use them for my Prismacolor pencils. And I made the boxes specifically for them, so the length is exactly how long they should be. And I made 10 slots, and I figured the way I would do it would be to use rainbow order. So I'll have one of these divided slots will be for reds, then it would be oranges, then yellows, then greens, then blues, then purples, and then one for tans and browns, and one for pinks, and then I think purples. And then I have one extra slot when I did my math, and I'm going to be putting my black and white and all of the tools that you use for colored pencils, like Vaseline and blender pencils, things like that. So if I need the other slot, I can use it, but that's my plan right now. So what we need to do now is I need to start putting my project together. Let me grab this and I'll be right back. I covered the bottom with, okay, here's how I managed to come up with my plan for how to do the bottom. I covered the bottom, as I told you, with this paper. That's the underneath. Then this is the part that will show. What I did with this was I put one of my boxes inside drawers. I don't know, I keep calling these boxes. And I made sure that I lined it up like that. And then I made marks on the inside of the bottom. I don't know if you can see. I'll show you a couple of them. See this mark right here and this mark right here. I made marks so that I knew exactly where to lay my hinges, because I wanted to have something to hinge the bottom to the sides. So then I cut these hinges. The hinges from front to back are, they should be, yeah, 7 and 9/16, and then across the front they should be 7 and 5/8. Or across the back, which they are. The back piece is 7 and 5/8, and these are 7 and 9/16. And then what I did was I just laid them so that the outer part of the hinge is facing out, so that I'd be able to lay one of my drawers, not boxes, drawers inside, and line it up so that I can use it to basically hold everything in place, kind of like you know, like I don't know what we'll just call it, just kind of like that. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that I could hold those hinges upright. Then I covered my sides with paper, and this is from a really, really fun paper pad that I absolutely love, that I got at Joann's. It's called Watercolor Floral, and I'll be making a lot of things with this going forward because I'm in love with it. It's from Park Lane. It was $6.49 on sale, and let me just show you some of these patterns. The backs are even, oh, let me get this out of the way so you can see both sides. The backs are gorgeous. Look at how this one has like a glossy finish, and then the back is leaves. And look at this one with the gloss. Oh, I just think it's so beautiful. And I love how this one has gloss on the back and the front. Just beautiful. Maybe I'll say just beautiful one more time. So I'm just flipping through these for you so you can get an idea of them. So if you want to play with me, you can go to Joann Fabrics and find it. Again, it's by Park Lane. It's the Joann brand, and it's Watercolor Florals. Oh, I bought another pad that was really pretty too, and I'm going to show it to you while I'm thinking about it. It's called Heritage and Home, and this one was only $5 on sale, which is even more fun. And let me show you these. I didn't open this one yet, so, and it's got some little floral patterns, and then big leaves, and then these fun houses, lemons. I like the back of all of these. I think they'd be really fun to use on projects. I like that they really match the front of each one. Ooh, watch out for that. I'm going to get to the one I was just on. This is the one I was showing you. Got some of those vintage vintage colors that we don't really use as much anymore, like that gold from the 70s, avocado. Anyway, so these unfortunately have to face with the stripes going across, not up and down, but that doesn't bother me because I just really like the pattern. And as I said, it came out of that Watercolor Floral set. And I've already covered these, and let me give you these measurements if I didn't already. These are the sides, and they are, it looks like 7 and 11/16 covered, but I think it was 7 and 5/8. It was 7 and 5/8 before I covered it. By 8, and again, that was 5/8 before I covered it. I made a back same sizes, and I covered it with this paper, and that was from Joann's. And one of the things that I read about making units with drawers is that you have to have a little holes in the back, because if the drawers fit in there really tightly, then their air will build up and you won't be able to shove them in easily. So I poked 6 holes in the back. They're very small, but my understanding is they don't have to be big, they just have to be able to let air escape. So what I want to do first, and let's just pray for the best at this point. This is my back, as I said. So I'm going to put that back there. And these are my 2 sides. And I'm going to put them, I'm not sure how to do this to make it not a horrible catastrophe. I'm going to use some clips if my clothespins work. I'm not exactly sure what will work to hold these up while I'm doing this. But my plan right now is to try doing things with clothespins. So what I'm going to do is on this bottom of, this is one of my sides, I'm going to put some of my Beacon 3-in-1 glue. I'm going to put it all along that bottom so that I can get it to sit onto that shelf. Well, not really shelf. Onto that. Ooh, my glue just went overboard. It'll line up with those marks I made on the front when I made my little back, my paper marks for these hinges. I made those marks, and now I'm going to use them to line these up, and hopefully by putting a clothespin on it, I'll be able to basically seal these in place. That's my goal. And I'm only going to do 1 layer, and then I'm going to have that layer set up and dry. I almost glued this to my flap. That would have been a horrible mistake. So I'm basically, no, I'm gluing each one of my flaps, hinges, we'll call them flaps for now because I think you all understand what I'm talking about when I say flaps. We're going to glue our flaps to our 3 sides. As I said, this is a nightmare of a project to try and do and try and hold things in place. I want to put my back on because it would really be handy if I had all 3 of these where I want them to be, but I do need to put flaps, hinges, flaps, hinges, whatever. I do need to put hinges on this piece to hold it too. I know, you're probably out there just going, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Do they have a blooper reel for videos? I don't know. Because clearly, I'm not good at this. What I'd really like to do is I'd like to line all of these up and put my hinges. So what I need to do now is I need to put hinges on the sides of this to hold the side pieces of our box in place. So I think what I'm going to do, I have a couple of extra here made to do that with. This should make it sturdier. Let me make the hinges and glue them down, and then I'll come back once I've glued this piece on, because you know that's going to be a crazy mess trying to do that. I've got the whole box glued together. I know, it's shocking, but I did it. And I put my hinges on the top because I figured that would make it easier when I get there. And those are all the same sizes as the ones I did below. The ones that are 7 5/8 and 8. Yeah, I forgot already. I've only been making these hinges 100 times. They are 7 5/8, and I think this one is 7 9/16. Yep. So then I put my first drawer in, and I wanted to show you my knobs. I bought my knobs on Amazon, and I think they're supposed to be for a dollhouse. And I got 15 of them, and I think I'm going to need 10. And they look like this. They're really, really cute. Got them open. I think I'm going to hot glue them on, but they look like that. They're little crystal tops and silver sides. And I think I'm going to glue 2 on each drawer. And I'm going to do that after I show you how I'm going to glue my each layer in. So what my plan was, this probably will go awry. I put my hinges facing up and down. These were 3 inches, as all of them are, 3 inches up and down. And then I score them at 1.5, and then I put one in the top, and then one facing the top and one facing the bottom. And I forgot to do the bottom one on that piece, so I need to do that. You want to make sure when you glue these in place that you don't put these in upside down, the shelves, because the shelf has a covered side and a not covered side. So what I did was I made sure that all of my, I'm going to call this ledge, all of my ledges that will hold my drawer, I made sure that all of these had an up and a right side and a wrong side. This is the right side. And so what you do is I'm going to put glue on the back flaps, on the side flaps, and before I do anything else, this is how I'm going to do this. This could be wrong, but this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it over my drawer like that, and then I'm going to put glue on all of the hinges so you can see this in action. Hold on it for a second. If I'm out of frame, I'll just turn my little box sideways. I don't know why I keep calling these boxes, they're drawers. So you got the idea. I'm going to put glue in all these, and I'll be back as soon as I've got all of these glued down. So at this point, I've got glue all over my flaps. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my drawer in, and I'm going to slide the whole piece back, including the drawer. I'm going to pull the drawer out again, but I want to make sure that I get my sides and my back glued down. And then I'm going to pull this drawer out. It was in sideways anyway. I'm going to put it in. Why does it keep sticking on something? I don't know. Okay. Then I want to push my sides in. And I'm going to get some of my clips, clothespins. So that's what it looks like right now. Hopefully you can see my drawer pulling out. And then it's just a matter of building the rest and doing the exact same thing. I'm just going to glue, lay the drawer in, put the top on, glue, do the whole thing, and I'll be back in time to show you how I'm putting the knobs on and how I put the top on. And then we'll be done. Yay! So this is the top of my box, and I accidentally put the lid on before I got finished. But what I did was I made the same flaps and I glued them to the top. These are hinges, and I just like I did every other layer. Hopefully you saw the other layers. And then I'm making sure that my top is exactly, straight the way I want it to be. Like that. Hopefully my head's not in the picture. And then what I do is, and I put it on its side and make sure that all of my pieces are well adhered, like, front to back, sides, and it's even. That's important. And then, once I've done that, I'll turn it this way so that hopefully you can see it better. You take something like a ruler, or in my case, I'm going to use a knitting needle, and I'm using the back. Ooh, watch out for that. I'm using the back of my knitting needle, this part, and I'm just going to kind of go across the top and the sides to make sure that everything's well adhered. And I go into the back and push the top up, making sure it's also well adhered. It's really important. This is what holds your box together, so you really need those to be completely straight. Then I'm going to put a little bit, well, let me do my knobs first. I bought, as I think I said, I bought knobs at Amazon, and they look like this. I bought, I think, 15 of them, so I need 10. I made a little template that I think will make it so that all of my knobs are exactly where I want them. So you want to make sure, some of my drawers have paper pieced together on one, like in the front or the back. I didn't want the fronts to be ugly, so this is the back, since that one has a taped piece in it, and this is the front. And then I made this little template, and the little template shows that I made it so that it was exactly half the width of my box, the template. So that if I put a dot where I want it, I'm going to put it on upside down. That was slick. Okay. If you put it exactly where it goes, which would be right like that, then you put a mark. I'm going to put it right there and right there. Hopefully you can see that. And then see where this mark is? I had him drill a hole, and this mark I had him drill a hole. And then we had to buy different screws because my screws that I bought for this were way too long. So what happened was, when you have a really long screw, I'm going to show you this. These are the screws that came with it. When you buy a longer screw like these were, this is what came with it. That's all the further it would close. So it wasn't thick or thin enough for me to hide it in my box. So what I did was I took this to my local hardware store, and they used it as a template, and I said I only want it to be, the screws to be a little bit longer than 2 millimeters thick. And so then they sold me 10 smaller screws. So then Rich put the screws inside the box after he did what he did. And then all I did was he put the screw through the hole, and I screwed in my little knob, and there they are. So let me come back after I've filled it so you can see exactly what I made it for. So here's how it looks full, and I'm going to go through from top to bottom so you can kind of see. I thought I'd go from bottom to top, but then I decided that didn't make any sense because I did this in rainbow order. So the top drawer is reds and pinks, and rainbow order would have been red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So here's how I did it. I did reds and pinks in the top drawer. And what I didn't think about is that when you get sets of pencils, it's not like they have the same number of each color family. So then this is oranges and yellows, and then you're going to see the problem I had. Blues and greens. Look at how many greens there are in the set of Prismacolors. I think my set's 150 count, but I also put in the ones that were metallics, and I'll show you those in a second. Then this drawer is purples, and then I went into grays because that's not in the rainbow family. And then the last drawer has beiges and browns, and then on this side it's blacks and silvers and golds, and my white Prismacolor pencil that I have. I normally keep it in my rack of markers because I want easy access to it, because I use that pencil more than any of my other Prismacolors. If you are looking for the perfect white colored pencil, the Prismacolor white is an amazing pencil. So that was what I made it for. I'm happy with it. It came out kind of better than I hoped it would. It had issues along the way. Here's what I will tell you. When you make yours, or if you make one of these, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you measure the boxes that you make, the drawers, because those drawers will dictate the size ultimately of your dresser. Because if you go with what I gave as measurements, and I'll put them all below as I always do, but if you go with my measurements and your drawer for whatever reason is bigger or smaller than mine, then my measurements will not work for you. And if I was going to do this differently, I'll go over the things I would do a little bit differently. And those are, I would make my top and my bottom larger. I thought by making it a 1/2 inch bigger, it would be big enough, you know, to look stable, substantial, like a bottom and a top, but I don't think it does. And the other thing I would do differently is I would make sure when I put a layer in, and this is the drawer I had an issue with, when I put the layer in, that I make sure that after I've put it in the shelf, that I make sure that I check it to make sure it's completely flat against the drawer below it. It seemed like a very simple task, but after I was finished, this layer between the second and third drawer was off. It had an angle to it. It was shaped, I'll draw it for you. It was shaped more like the angle on the top. Instead of being like this is what the shelf should have been shaped like. You know, like on the drawer below it. So instead of my drawer being straight on top of the drawer beneath it, this is what it should look like from the side, basically. My drawer went like this, angled wise. It had an angle that this top was much, it went kind of like that when you looked at it. This side was a lot higher than that side. Hopefully that makes sense. And if I would have just looked and seen that I should have pushed this side down so that it was flat, and I didn't. But if I had, I wouldn't have had to rebuild half my box, which in the end I had to do. So I really recommend that when you put your box together, you're very conscious of each shelf as you put it in there. It's not really that hard to do. If I can do it, trust me, anybody can do it. But if you struggle with any component of it, that's probably because your drawers are not exactly the same size. So you want to make sure that when you put those shelves in, okay, let me tell you another thing I did after I was finished. When you put your drawers in, because you put the drawer in and you put the shelf right on it, that is specific to that drawer. So what I would do is I would put a number on the drawer, which I did, but you know, clearly all right, I'll show you that. Can you see that number 2 right there? Each one of my drawers has a number on it, and that is from top to bottom. Number 1 is the top drawer, number 2 is the next drawer down, number 3 is the drawer after that. It's important that you put those drawers back in exactly where you laid the shelf on them, because then that spot will always fit that drawer. So if the drawer above it is just a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, you should have that numbered so it goes in that same slot every time, just so you know. Hopefully that all made sense. But this was worth the time and effort I put into it. I would say this probably took me 15 hours to do, keeping in mind I've never done anything like this before. Maybe it took me 20 hours because I had so many problems with the things I did wrong. But it's worth it for me because I really wanted a unit that would hold my pencils. Hopefully you can see it better like that. I wanted a unit that would hold my pencils, and I wanted it to be very colorful and fun. And if you have any of your, if you nick any of your slots so that it doesn't look blue anymore, all I do is I just keep my Chip Sapphire Distress ink right on hand, and I just go back over it and fix whatever I've done wrong to it. But there it is. I hope that you liked it, that you give this a thumbs up and subscribe, and please tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.